You are all welcome to Bible study with Kevin Iceberg. Today's edition, I would want to talk on divorce and remarriage. This is a special request from a married friend who wants me to clarify some issues on divorce and remarriage. So, let's look at what the scripture talks about divorce and remarriage. There is a popular one where Jesus made some statements in the Bible, and that is in Matthew chapter 19 from verse 3 down. So let's read Matthew chapter 19 from verse 3 to 12 to get an idea of what Jesus Christ talked about on divorce and remarriage. Okay, I read from the King James Version. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twine, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses command to give a writing of divorcement, and to put her away? He said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committed adultery. And whosoever married her which is put away, doth commit adultery. Verse 10 now. His disciples say unto him, If the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. So you see, Jesus Christ is very God on earth, and when he makes a statement, we cannot make any arguments whatsoever on it. What we are going to be doing is correct interpretation of what he said, line by line, precept by precept. So now let's look at it again. He said, in the beginning, they were made male and female, meaning that God had no intention for man to divorce. God had no intention. It was because of the hardness of the hearts of men. That was why such commandment was given to Moses. That is the reason. So you get it now. No, but then in a situation where it has happened, that is what we are now looking at. For instance, a divorcee or someone who is divorced, what should we do? Are you getting me? Or are we saying that everyone who is a divorcee is going to hell because God hates putting away? Okay, but I want you to understand something, because even though marriage is a lifetime commitment, God knows that marriage is between two imperfect human beings. So that was why he laid down some laws in the Old Testament in order to protect the rights of divorcees, especially women, because if God in his wisdom knows that there are some things that will be happening, there's going to be disagreement here and there, and then he had to also put these things in his own teaching. And in Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 1 to 4, I'll show you quickly the laws that were given in the Old Testament. I know we would say it's Old Testament laws, but don't worry, I would clear every doubt on this. Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 1 to 4. Okay. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 to 4. I read here, and it says, When a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he have found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it to her and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. She may go and be another man's wife. And if the later husband hates her and write her a bill of divorcement and giveth it in her hand and sendeth her out of his house, or if the later husband die, which took, to be his wife, her former husband which sent her away may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, and that is abomination before the Lord. And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God give thee for an inheritance. So you see, the issue of divorce and remarriage is a very big issue in Christendom. I must tell you the truth, because we are here and there are some people will preach this, some people will say this, but this was the law given to Moses, that look, if someone divorces his wife because of, he found her unworthy, or unclean, or whatever reasons, he should let her go, but then he should give her a bill, that's divorce legally. And then if the wife is divorced legally, she has a right to remarry. Are you getting me? But that is the Old Testament law. So we are going to be looking at the grounds for divorce in the Bible right now, so that you won't say I'm talking about just Old Testament. For instance, there are some grounds for divorce. I'll tell you the truth, my brethren. There are actually some grounds for divorce in the Bible. But what the Lord is saying is, He does not like it. Are you getting me? It doesn't make Him happy. But actually, there are some grounds where people can divorce. One, grounds of sexual immorality. When we read Matthew chapter 5 verse 32, let's read Matthew chapter 5 verse 32. Yes, Matthew chapter 5 verse 32. It says, "But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committed adultery." So you see, this place says, except, that is what it means by save for. Are you getting me? Let me read it again with that verse 32. It says, "But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause," that is except of fornication. That means if the man or the woman, cannot forgive the sin of fornication or adultery, he can actually divorce. But aside that, are you getting me? So that is one ground for divorce, because I want to make it brief. Then in that same Matthew chapter 19 verse 9 where we read, if you read it again, I don't want to take your time again, you see that Jesus Christ made the same statement again, except for fornication. So that's the first ground, one ground that one can actually divorce. Then instance of abandonment by an unbelieving partner. I know this is a very critical one, because most persons do not know this in the Bible, and that's the reason why sometimes we stigmatize people who are divorcees. You don't know the situation or what could have caused their divorce. You just stigmatize them. For instance, I could have been married and then it is my wife that divorced me, not necessarily me, but the tag divorcee. You just hear that I'm a divorcee, you get, you stay away from me. This man is not a believer. This man is not truly serving God in truth and in spirit. You just condemn me. I get me. But because we do not look at the scriptures very well, so sometimes we don't even understand the situation that leads to divorce. But let's read 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15, so that you understand. This is Apostle Paul writing. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15, and it says, "But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God hath called us to peace." Do you know what this place means? It means that, look, if you are married to an unbeliever, are you getting me? And the unbeliever decides to divorce you, no problem. You must not hold it down. And look, you are not under bondage. That's what that place is saying. Like, you must not be in that marriage. So that means you can actually leave the marriage. But the end says, "But God has called unto peace." That is, that we should make sure that we try to, make peace with our partners. Divorce should be the last option. But I'm coming there. Let me just rush through again. Then, instance of abuse of spouse, whether physical or emotional abuse, addiction, like addiction to pornography, addiction to drugs, addiction to alcohol, criminal activities, child abuse. These are also grounds for divorce, and then financial mismanagement, gambling, threat to life. These are actually also grounds on divorce. So because in my country, because I don't know the country where you'll be watching this, in my country, Nigeria, something happened and a popular gospel musician, female gospel musician, died, I think last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember anymore. But the root cause of her death was because of wife battering by her husband. And she's popular, but she died. So imagine if, I am not encouraging her to divorce, but imagine if when the husband must have been beating her 1, 2, 3 times, and she decides to separate. I did not say divorce. Separate and iron out the issue and then come back to the marriage. She might have still been alive today and still giving us melodious songs to sing unto God, But because she was there, and a lot of people must have been encouraging her, stay under the man, do this, and he killed her, and she died. Today, the man is still alive and might still be serving God in truth and in spirit, because the man might ask God for forgiveness and he will forgive him. And then the wife is dead. So we have to be careful when we are being too religious on sensitive matters that has to do with life. So when it is life-threatening, please, my brother, my sister, move out and settle from outside. When it has to do with child abuse, I see stories on the internet, of stories where you see fathers sleeping with their daughters, or mothers sleeping with their sons, and the wives, keep quiet or silent about these issues. I get him until it spiraled down to, a level where they can no longer control it. But they have been having these issues for long, and we are not able to pinpoint it and sort it out once and for all. So most times, instead of enduring something that is evil, you move out a bit first, not divorce again, I repeat. Move out, sort from outside, and then make sure it is corrected. So that's it. Then the last, the other question I should ask now is, should a couple remain in marriage when there is threat to life of either spouse or criminal intent? See, don't be a fool. I am taking time to teach this teaching because a married friend requested this teaching from me. So that is the reason why, if you notice, I'm not rushing the way I do in my other topics. Don't be a fool. When you die, your husband, your wife can still be forgiven by God. Your husband or your wife can still make heaven. I'm not joking. You are not God. You can't stop them from making heaven, even if they kill you. They will ask God for repentance. If they are truly repentant, God will forgive them. Do you know why? 3 days ago or 2 days ago was our Easter celebration. Some other denomination calls it the resurrection morning. Jesus Christ paid the debt of every human being, not just your own, not just you or me who is claiming to be delivered. No, he paid for every human being. He died on the cross for every human being. About 10 billion to 30 billion people who have ever lived the earth, or more than that. Jesus Christ paid the price for all of them. So if any of them, no matter how sacrilegious their sins may be, come back to him and say, I am sorry, sir. I am sorry, Lord. He will forgive them. That is the reason he died. His blood must not waste. So don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. Don't die out of threat. When you are in a tight corner, make way. Then settle from where you are and come back. Don't stay there and die there. So that is my advice. Okay, so why should divorce be the last option? Because God hates putting away. In Malachi chapter 2, verse 16, you read that clearly on your tablet or whatever you are using to watch me, or the Bible. You find out that God really hates putting away. He doesn't like divorce. He doesn't like separation. He loves man and woman to be as husband and wife. But then, if he's going to kill you, if he's going to take away your destiny on earth, if it's going to be costing you your relationship with God, you are free to separate or divorce. Divorce is not a sin if these things I mentioned, these grounds I mentioned are part of what is happening, then you have a solid reason. But if you can forgive like Jesus Christ asked us to, then that is okay. But now let's talk about remarriage. What grounds are there for remarriage after divorce? What first ground is fornication. Let's read Matthew chapter 19 verse 9 so that we can rehash the words of Jesus Christ. He said, verse 9 says, "And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another." Did you read it very well? Let me say it again. "And I say unto you, whoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committed adultery." That is to say, you can actually remarry, but if you are remarrying after divorce, it has to be because your spouse, your partner, was caught in fornication. You have solid reasons, sexual immorality, adultery, or whatever. You get so, but I will always advise you can forgive. But then this is a ground, number one ground for the marriage. The second one, if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. I read that earlier on in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 15. I wouldn't want to read it again. If you marry an unbeliever, someone who doesn't have the same faith with you, and he divorces you, even if it is not for fornication, even if it's not for anything, but you married an unbeliever, but the unbeliever divorces you, you are free to remarry. There is nothing holding you or stopping you from remarrying. That is what that place says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 15. I don't know if I should read, but don't worry. You read it and you will see it. So that's it. Then the third one, in the death of a spouse surviving, the surviving spouse is free to remarry another believer. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 39. I know we know this place, but let me read it so that you just get my perspective from it. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 39. It says, "The wife is bound by law as long as her husband liveth, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord." So you see, there are so many. If I know that in our climate, especially in Africa here, people have their own opinions about people getting remarried and all that. But I just want you to know, one, stop the stigmatization of divorced persons or divorced believers and divorced Christians. Stop the segregation of divorced persons. Some persons would have these issues, but we are not in the place of God to judge. Some of the biggest person names I know in Christendom, somebody like Kathryn Kuhlman, you saw what happened to her and her marriage. She didn't have a beautiful married life, but she's one of the people whom we drink from her streams and enjoy her messages because God used her mightily. Imagine if the world we are stigmatizing and segregating her and not receiving the gospel and the power of Jesus Christ after all the ordeals she passed through in marriage. That destiny would have wasted. So please, the reason for this teaching is because so that we have a clear mindset on these things. I might not want to divorce, but my wife divorces me. So why are you going to stigmatize me or segregate me because someone divorced me? Are you understanding me? So let's look at this thing from two angles. It's not always the case that that man is a divorcee or the woman is a divorcee because she wants to divorce. But if you are in a tight corner, what do I do? The decision has to be made by one person out of the two. You understand? So let's not look at divorced believers as unbelievers or as lesser believers. I see Christians talk down about divorcees when they want to introduce a believer who is a divorcee. Yes, that brother is a divorcee, like a tag on him saying he is not really a believer in Jesus Christ. So please, let's have a proper view of these things. Yes, God hates divorce. He doesn't want us to do it. But when it happens, we come back to him and say we are sorry. He understands the situation of things. For instance, if my life is at stake, am I supposed to be there and die in it? And then, so that's just it. A lot of issues. But I hope this blesses you and opens up your heart and mind towards this issue. So we have a free mind, and be able to embrace Christians all over the world, both the divorced and the remarried, so we can serve God in truth and in spirit. God bless you all. I love you so much. Keep on coming here, comment, like, and subscribe, and even share. God bless you. Bye.